YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Rough and Tam McManus are here with me. What a season it's been. We've got lots to talk about. We've been sponsored by Cameron Commercial Vehicles all through the season. If you want to get a quality new or used van, then Sean is your man. Go on to CameronCommercials.com. They'll sort out what you need for your business. It's been a heck of a season. We'll look back over some of the highlights as well as looking at some of the news stories that are coming out today. And over and above that, we'll look ahead to that Scotland friendly against Clarke with Dick Advocaat back in the country to take Clarke to Hampden for the friendly tomorrow. Friendlies, the type of thing that Tam absolutely hates, and absolutely get it. Would you pay to go to a friendly match, considering all the expense over the course of a season? Would you go and see a friendly match? Would you believe back in 1977-78, Scotland fans paid a tenner to wave to Roughie as he was heading to Argentina? That was just an indication of how mental the football fans were then.
Absolutely amazing, you know, to think about it in this day. I don't think it would ever happen again. It just shows you how much the nation got behind the team, and unfortunately we let them down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you got that in before we started to dwell on it. Anyway, lots of things to talk about. Steve Clarke happy with the new contract as he enters the Scottish Football Hall of Fame as well. What a weekend it's been for him. SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell says VAR is here to stay. Martin O'Neill has to wait another week as Dermot Desmond weighs up the candidates for the Celtic job. Aberdeen have made a triple signing, and Mikel Arteta is preparing for a possible double as Arsenal take on PSG in the Champions League final tomorrow. Certainly looking forward to that in the company of these two. Of course, the great thing about it is when you get the weather that we've had this week, sometimes these two like to expand their skill set and play a bit of golf. And you were golfing today, Roughie. You had a mare.
Yeah, I think the conditions, you know, didn't, what's the word I'm looking for?
Didn't suit you.
Enhance my game.
He's sitting there freezing soaked just off the golf course.
People were not, we got really wet the day. It was driving rain, but we persevered. It was a good day for a good lad.
Yeah.
But, some of us had a good team, some of us didn't.
Absolutely.
Our team were rotten.
Rotten. I was going to say to you, Roughie, unlike other sports where if it's a team game and you're playing football and you can look and you can sometimes turn around to your mates and say, listen, that guy there is having an absolute shocker. Or as Tommy Burns once said to me when we were playing in a charity game, is this guy a competition winner that you brought along? I was just wondering, in golf, do you do your usual that you used to do with me at the tennis, which is just that look, that silent look of disdain?
No, I had already decided the weather conditions, the terrain of the course just didn't suit my style of play. For any golfers out there will know, there was as Tam will tell you, there was a sort of extra competition in it, which is a yellow ball, where everybody has a shot at this yellow ball. You have to keep on to this yellow ball to the end. We lost it at the first hole.
Yeah.
The idiot I was playing with lost it the first hole.
So there you are. I was just about to say to you, harsh words for a guy who just was going about his business, doing his best. Anyway, good to have you guys with us. There's quite a fair bit to talk about. And also over and above that, we have got the Elite Joinery and Fire Protection Quiz. Martin O'Neill was also inducted into the Northern Ireland Hall of Fame, which was fantastic. So I thought I'd ask you, how many caps does Martin O'Neill have for Northern Ireland? That's a belter of a question. Do you want to have a go at that, Roughie?
45.
45, so not really a great career, Northern Ireland.
83.
83.
I think he got a lot of caps, one of the most capped players.
Okay, give us your thoughts. How many caps did Martin O'Neill get for Northern Ireland? And he was part of, Roughie, a fantastic Northern Ireland side. I mean,
great Northern.
I think, you know, when you think of great sides down through the years, is it fair to say that you can usually rhyme them off? You can usually rhyme off a good 9 or 10 players from a really good team. Any good team, you know. And I mean, I'll have a go at the Irish team and say...
I'll have a go at them as well.
You want to go?
Pat Jennings.
Yep.
Nico. Armstrong.
Yep. Wait a minute. You've gone from nickel to the centre forward. Are you kidding me?
The big guy at the back.
Yeah.
Nichols, his name?
Chris Nicholl.
Chris Nicholl.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the one. Mark Donaghy.
Mal Donaghy. He was on the left back. Do you know who was alongside Chris Nicholl? Do you remember him? Played for Rangers.
Rangers player.
Yeah.
Centre half.
Yeah.
No.
John McClellan.
John McClellan.
Right.
And then there'd be McCready, McElroy, O'Neill.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what other ones were at the barn. At the bar. Playing in the way.
Yeah. the Norman Whiteside's a good shout.
Norman Whiteside,
Jerry
yeah.
Armstrong.
Funnily enough.
Another one was the boy who crossed it for Jerry Armstrong in the game when they beat Spain.
Man United.
No.
Whiteside.
No, he's mentioned Whiteside.
Yeah.
Billy Hamilton. You wouldn't have got it.
I'm big centre. Yeah.
So
Northern Ireland were in our group in more than one occasion.
Yes.
So we played them quite a lot. I think we actually qualified in Belfast. It was nothing each to take us further in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So how many caps did Martin O'Neill get? And we'll give you the answer at the end. Steve Clarke, happy with his contract till 2030. Oof, that caught a few people out. Well deserving of it?
Yeah, but a lot of people maybe question the timing because they're going to a big tournament. Maybe they could have waited till after the tournament. You know, if we go and bomb in the tournament again, I think there's a section of Scotland supporters who just don't fancy Stevie Clarke, and I think they'll be back out in force if we go over there and don't win a game. So, yeah, I think it's the right call. I like Steve Clarke. I think he's probably, if not the best Scotland manager we've ever had in terms of qualification. You know, 2 Euros and a World Cup. You know, he's been very successful. So I think he deserves it. But there will be people out there thinking, why not give him one after it and see how we got on in the World Cup? So, but I'm all for it. I think he's top class. I don't think we'll get better than Steve Clarke as a manager for Scotland.
Yeah, so you're quite happy with him?
I am happy with it, yeah.
Roughie?
Yeah, I'm happy with him to a certain extent. Obviously, as Tom's just touched on it, the Euros was a disaster. It was very, very poor. A lot of his, substitutions I thought were poor. I thought maybe we should have waited until after the World Cup to see how we're going, but it means you're going to the World Cup. We're not asking about is he going to be the manager or no, so that's sort of a bin to the side. So it's up to the players to perform. I think he has got a good squad. He's got as good a squad as we've had for a long, long time. Put that down to the players as well, obviously playing abroad. And the old failings is, striker. We need the striker. The goalkeeping one, I would like to know the in-depth of what's happening in that goalkeeping position, because if Craig Gordon doesn't play tomorrow and play the next game, he's not going to be playing in the World Cup. He's got to play in these 2 games.
So if he doesn't, he's not on the plane, or is he taking him?
He's got to take him, he's there, but he won't, he can't. Many times he played for Hearts this year, 3.
Yeah. It's not his fault.
I know it's not his fault, but you don't want to be going to a World Cup having only 3 first team games under your belt.
Hold on a minute. You went to the World Cup in 1986. How many times did you play for Hibs that season?
Tons.
Tons, yeah.
Tons.
Yeah.
Don't blame me. Don't fun of me.
Yeah, okay. Listen,
You agree he's got to play in the 2 games if he's playing number 1
at least.
Well, he's not going to be number 1. He's going to put Angus Gunn in as the number 1.
You think so?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think he's not played either.
Listen, we're in a situation where, ultimately I think we're weak in the centre half position, and I think we're weak in the centre forward. So although he has a good squad and he has, as ever, that strong midfield area, I do think he deserves his place in the Scottish Football Hall of Fame. I think you're right, Tam. I think he goes down as one of the, the best Scotland managers of all time.
Statistically is.
Yes.
Tournaments.
Well, absolutely, and he's got to be celebrated for that. I think, for Ian Maxwell to say it's a no-brainer, fine, okay, gets the deal. A lot of us actually, and just in case we've all got short memories, a lot of us have... a lot of us actually said he should not have got that contract until we witnessed what was going to happen in the World Cup. He's got it. It's not one of those ball breakers that we've all got to start, moaning about it. He's got the deal, and the only thing I would say, which is coming fast and furious towards him, is quite simply, he'll get a lot of flack if he continues to play the way he did at the Germany tournament, Tam.
Yeah, I think he's learned from that, Peter. I think he changed right away. I think we played kind of 3 at the back at the Euros, and that was a disaster. And he's went to 4 at the back. We've been better. Listen, he deserves it. We were the third seed in that group. You know, I think we were the third best team. I think Denmark and Greece were better than us, and we managed to finish top of that group. So we punched well above our weight, and Steve Clarke has done that a lot for Scotland. So the first game against Haiti is crucial for us. We've got to beat them. If we don't beat them, we're as well coming home. I don't see us beating Brazil or Morocco. So we've got to win that first game, and if we do that, a point for the other two games would probably get us into the next round. So, yeah, different scenarios. We'll be expected to beat Haiti, and we won't be expected to beat Morocco and Brazil. So whether that works in Steve Clarke and Scotland's favour, I don't know, over the 3 games.
Okay, friendlies. I must admit, Tam, you know,
especially when you're playing Curacao, I know they're going, but
club football or even international football, you'd have to drag me by the hair in to watch a friendly.
Particularly international football, and we are garbage at international friendlies. Scotland, we have been for years. So, listen, I suppose it's a goodbye to the supporters before we go, and I think there'll be a decent crowd there. I think we'll beat them by a few goals. I would like to think we'll beat them by a few goals, and they're in a similar conference to Haiti. So maybe that's the thinking about playing them, but yeah, it's just a...
And good to see Dick Advocaat back in the country, still going strong, still taking a check. He certainly gets something to offer. I mean, as a reporter, I thoroughly enjoyed interviewing him trackside. He was good fun. Knew what he was doing. Had a successful time at Rangers until obviously Martin O'Neill trapped and scuppered his plans. But nevertheless, he had some really good players in that Rangers team.
He's like Advocaat now. He must be older than Martin O'Neill.
I think he's about 83.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're thinking Martin O'Neill's maybe too old, you still get the Advocaat, you know, working for international football. So yeah, I was fortunate to coming through as a boy at Hibs to play against his Rangers team, and it was some team.
Yeah,
with Van Bronckhorst and Newman and all the guys, Michael Moles, a great side. And
did he start the Brown Brogues situation?
He did. You had to wear a collar and tie in the training at Ibrox, which is I found astonishing. But the players every day had to wear a collar and tie going into training and the Brown Brogues and stuff like that. So
breakfast as well.
Yeah, breakfast. Yeah. So I think he was very, very strict with the players. But listen, he got results. Rangers were very, very good back then. Obviously, they were spending a lot of money, but they spent it wisely. And Dick Advocaat has been a terrific manager through the years.
Yeah, he had a great catchphrase always in many a press conference, Roughie. It will be difficult, but we can do it. Which, you know, Henrik's was, it's not about me, it's about the team. And Dick's was a classic one for the team. And by the way, there were some good results along the way in Europe as well for them.
Yeah, he certainly did. As Tam said there, he had some great players there, you know, great foreign players on that team, you know, a joy to watch. He had something about him, you know, and like we always talk about the specs in the dressing room, and he had it, you know, he'd done it so much with other clubs and everything. So, no, I think he had a good side. Okay,
the SFA chief executive also, apart from confirming it was a no-brainer on Steve Clarke, has mentioned that VAR is here to stay. He's been quite critical of people's approach to it, basically saying that quite a number of fans, the hysteria that they've been surrounding their disgust at some of the decisions is based on if it doesn't go their way as fans of the club that they support. But he's also condemned some of the conduct of some people who think it's okay to put the addresses of match officials out there in the domain of social media. And also he was very critical of the fact that, and it's not the first time he said that he's had to actually make sure that there's the police making sure that some referees are safe in their own house.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened there at the end of the day. We beaten, you know, for that to happen to an individual and his family and his kids and everything that goes with it. You know, the people who did it, you know, should be punished and punished severely. And I think people have to realise if we don't have VAR, we don't get into Europe. You know, I don't think FIFA and UEFA would allow our clubs to get in if we don't use VAR. So from that aspect,
I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think Sweden's using VAR at the moment.
There's a few Scandinavian. You're right, Sweden, and I don't think it's the technology. I don't think it's VAR. The actual, I think it's the people that's working it, and I've said that all season, Peter. It's no surprise and no shock that there's no Scottish referees at big European games now. It used to be Hugh Dallas, guys like that, even Kenny Clarke, Willie Young. They were going and working at big European tournaments and World Cups, and There's none now, and I think that's a decline in the actual refereeing standards in Scotland. So we're talking about VAR, and it's the people that's operating VAR that's the problem, not the actual system itself.
Well, I've no qualms with Ian Maxwell talking about the fact that there's a greater percentage of decisions that we're getting right. But I think he's barking up the wrong tree if he thinks that we're not going to criticise some of the decisions, and some of the decisions which have been so critical that they've got them wrong. It's not a case of the nation's concentrating on the negatives all the time. He's wide of the mark, Ian, on that, because quite simply, we've had two major decisions, Tam. One of them that denied Hearts a penalty in the game against Motherwell. And that, I was in Edinburgh last night, talking to Jambos, honestly, they are not happy with it. Just because the SFA release a statement saying, we got it wrong, let's move on, there's nothing to see here. I'm sorry, they're not happy about it.
No, and it's actually cost Hearts the league, that decision, and then Celtic getting the penalty decision, which I think the refereeing panel came out last week and said it was a mistake. It wasn't a penalty. That doesn't help Hearts now, and when you're in a tight title race and it's going down to the last game or two, you need those decisions to be right. And I don't think either were right, and they both went against Hearts. Now people will say, but what about that one earlier in the season? Hearts get this one, and Liam Scales never get a penalty against Hibs, and people will hark back, and I get all that, but those big decisions, you have to be 100% right, because that can decide the outcome of the title, and I think it did in the end. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Celtic, they won all their games, and they've deserved champions, but if your Hearts, it's going to sting for a while. Yeah. Those two decisions, were costly for them.
But at the other end of the league as well, they could be saying the same thing. So Mirren could be saying, we shouldn't have been in the playoff. Look at all these results we never got earlier on. We shouldn't be in the playoff.
Every club will have qualms, and disappointments with the VAR, and that's just the way it is.
Some more than others?
Absolutely. People say, it evens it sell out. I don't think it does.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't. I think what we've got to do. He did start to. Now, this is the thing where you got to read between the lines on it. He did start to defend the criticism of some people suggesting they've got a cheaper version of VAR. He says it's in line with a number of European countries. That's just a clever way of saying, yes, they've also got cheap VAR.
Estonia and Faroe Islands.
Well, I think at the end of the day, I take on board what Ian Maxwell's saying about it's here to stay. It is here to stay, and it's certainly taken away a lot of what I would call some stupid pub arguments, but it hasn't eradicated the fact that human failures can make our standard refereeing and the utilising of the equipment and the equipment that we do have, Roughie, it can be improved, and I think that was clever the way he tried to explain that out there as a chief executive regarding VAR. We can get better technology, but one thing we really need to do is we need to get better people, more competent operating it.
Yeah, well, we've had a few years now of doing it. You would like to think the people are up in that VAR room are getting better, as you would imagine referees to get better. So year on year, you would think it would improve. But I think the one thing they have got up their sleeve is they would say the percentage of correct decisions are up with VAR. I think there are more and more correct decisions than bad ones, and that's what we want to see. We want to see the correct ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, are you going to the game, Scotland Caracas friendlies? Does it float your boat? Are you excited by it? Is it the type of thing that you'll take the family to and go and watch Scotland cheer on, maybe wave goodbye to the team, wish them all the best, all of that stuff? It doesn't do anything for me, Roughie, I'll be perfectly honest with you. We'll cover it, but it's not one of those things that I get really excited about. Even friendlies in club football, it's the only thing that forces you out to these friendlies is getting the chance to speak to the managers and players afterwards.
No, it does it for me. I'm doing the hospitality tomorrow at the game, so I'm quite happy.
Well, there you are, Tam. That's exactly what it's all about.
Money from every single outlet.
Absolutely, and it also actually calls into question the last 10 minutes of his answers there, which are clearly clouded by the fact that he's getting a wedge from the SFA.
Yep, and don't want to go against them and they'll just cancel you.
Yeah, so
great organising.
Absolutely. So absolutely. Okay, lots of things that we will deal with on our feed, which I'm reading at the moment. We'll cut across that shortly.
By the way, there's a few gunning for you on that feed. I am reading them, by the way. So is Peter.
I'm watching them right now.
You want to front up to it?
I'm laughing, so don't worry about it. We are about to front front up to it. Martin O'Neill has to wait another week. Is that because Dermot is just going round some of the main candidates to see exactly where it's at? Martin's been very coy about it. He's just basically saying that he is, just waiting to see what Dermot's got to say. He's not saying it's completely... If he didn't want the job, he'd just blow it right out of the water.
I think Martin's in the box seat. He's in a strong position. He's finished the season fantastically at Celtic, winning the double. He's come in and saved them. I think won them the league single-handedly. You know, if it wasn't for Martin O'Neill, I don't think Celtic win that league championship. So I think he's just sitting. He's got time. And yeah, I think Dermot Desmond will maybe be sounding out a few agents and a few managers abroad. But I think he's going to come back to Martin O'Neill. I think he's going to come back to Martin and say, do you fancy another year? And I don't think Martin's going to say no. So if you're asking me who do I think will be the Celtic manager next year, I think it will be Martin. But they'll do their due diligence at the minute. And,
what will they do?
Due diligence.
That's interesting.
And they'll go and they'll speak to people, but I think it'll be Martin, to be honest with you. And I think that a lot of Celtic supporters want it to be Martin as well.
There's no... Who else is... And generally, you usually get 3 or 4 big candidates.
Unless waiting a Roberto Martinez, somebody after the World Cup.
I don't think
what if he wins? What if he does well with Portugal? He's going to be bigger clubs in for him. No disrespect to Celtic.
Can you? They're not going to win at Portugal.
No, but if they get to a semi, or
yeah, I'm not too sure you could get to a situation where they could wait for a manager that long. Could they?
No.
Could they leave themselves wide open to the criticism?
Well, Martin O'Neill, right after the cup final, said the new season starts on Monday. So Monday, whoever it is that's in there must be shifting through what players are available, what players are going to be leaving, who's coming back, who's going to go. So, I mean, and then there'll be players going away to play in the World Cup. There'll be players going away on holidays. So somebody actively needs to be in there deciding what's happening at the club.
Yeah. Would you give it to him?
I'd love to see what candidates are out there. If you're going to give it to him, give it for a year. I just think it's a long-term thing. I think Celtic should be looking at a 3 and 4 year deal for somebody, because the 3 or 4 year deal is, we saw what's happened with players coming in and not working and leaving. I think somebody needs to be in there and identifying players and getting them 2 and 3 year contracts, and they're there for 2 and 3 years, not just a year or 4 months and we'll ship you out on loan. They need to get it right. They need to get the right player coming in.
But Celtic, you don't get 3 and 4 years at Celtic. Same with Rangers. You've seen managers, you've seen Russell Martin come in, you've seen Wilfred Nancy come in on 3 and 4 year contracts, and then you don't win games right away, you get sacked. So, do you know what I mean? A club like a Motherwell or a Hibs or somebody like maybe outside of that, you can get time to build a team and build a squad. Celtic, you're up against it right away. You need to win games right away. So a lot of the managers, Brendan Rodgers used to sign 1 year rolling contracts.
Yeah.
I can see something like that for Martin O'Neill, a 1 year rolling contract, and see how it goes.
See how it goes, yeah. Kick it down the park. Okay. One other little footnote, which, again, Ian Maxwell mentioned, Roughie, and it goes to do with the crowd trouble. Not out with the ground, because that is a police issue. They have to deal with that. Crowd trouble in the ground, or at least pitch invasions, and he said there's going to be more, he's going to reveal more on that, but there's going to be big punishments coming for that if it happens again in the future.
Yeah, I think there has to be punishment. There's no doubt about that. What scale of punishment, we'll have to wait and see. But the clubs will throw out a statement saying we are warning our fans not to go in the park, so they'll cover themselves from their side to say, look, we've done everything we can. We've told them what's going to happen. If anybody comes on the park, then, I mean, the people... I don't get the self-policing bit, I don't get that bit that you're liable.
Yeah.
The fans have to be responsible. I know the police have got a big part to play in it. We saw what the stewards can do or can't do when it's in great numbers. I just think there needs to be something more specific at areas where you think that's where the fans are going to come on the park.
Yeah, okay. We'll get that debate. Thanks for so many of you, including what I would call the hysterical Celtic fans demanding an apology from me with regards to the fans coming onto the park. I'll give you the exact statement from Police Scotland. They told the BBC that they have not received any complaints from Hearts over alleged assaults on their players after the Celtic match. That's fine. I can just tell you, I was in the park, I'm watching the fans on the park, and I'm watching quite a few of them running towards Hearts players. It wasn't a good situation. And That's it in a nutshell. It's as simple as that. I have mentioned that I thought fans were running towards Lawrence Shanklin. If your interpretation of it is that he wasn't attacked, that's fine. Police Scotland say they haven't received any complaints from Hearts players on it, and that's the end of it. It's as simple as that. You can bleat on all you want in this culture that we have on social media thinking about apologies, but from my perspective, I looked at a situation where the fans shouldn't have been on the park. That's the first thing, and Hearts players shouldn't feel threatened by thousands of fans coming towards them. I'm not even going to bother asking either of my compadres here to justify anything that I've said, because quite simply, I watched it. I thought it was unsavoury. I thought people coming towards some of the Hearts players was, you can look at it as some people saying, guys wanting to goad them. Some players actually, I think Lawrence Shanklin at one point was seen just pushing a fan away. You don't know what they're coming to do. You don't know whether they've got a weapon. You don't know the situation on the park about somebody running towards you. So from that point of view, the fact that Police Scotland have decided that the Hearts players haven't at any point suggested that they want to take legal action, that's fine. That's what's come out of Police Scotland. So fine, you can take it any way you want. I looked at it, didn't think it was right, didn't think the Hearts players should have been subjected to it, and I think over and above that, I think Celtic will get a fine for the conduct of not the majority of fans, Roughie, the minority who spoil it for everybody. You know, you've mentioned that up at Ross County, you know, I think Anthony Ralston scored a goal and the Celtic fans jumped onto the side of the track. That was the last minute goal. Fine, there was no intimidation of any players, they were just jumping about for joy. There's a lot of Celtic fans actually, when the Rangers game, they were jumping about for joy when the goals were scored, and then they went off the park. You know, but when you get to a situation where people have to be shepherded off the park in fear of their safety, that's a different matter. And there's a minority who just have that, situation where they should know better.
Yeah, I think that's what spoiled. I think that the thing that Martin O'Neill was most annoyed about, that the actual celebration of winning the league was sort of nullified a wee bit, you know, when it actually happened. You know, the fans coming in the park took away a lot of things that the players, the Celtic players particularly, would have liked to have rejoiced in. You saw what happened when you win a cup final, you tour around the park and you see all you go to your fans and everything. They never had a chance to do that at Parkhead. You know, it was killed by these people who come on the park. And the good thing about it is the majority of Celtic supporters there actually booed the people who came on the park. So they didn't like what happened either. So I think Martin O'Neill got it right. You know, these people that come on the park killed the momentum for a small space of time until they get ushered back into their bit.
Yeah, listen, there's even been people out there slaughtering Martin O'Neill for his defence of the majority of fans who come on to celebrate. I think Martin O'Neill, in defence of him as well, Tam, actually just said, you know, there's pitch invasions everywhere. That doesn't make it right. But there are pitch invasions everywhere. Some people who celebrate something as dramatic as a last-minute winner. And some people have been critical of him as well for his comments regarding it, in some ways defending the right of fans to go on the park. But it does happen. But my day was quite simply that I saw a number of Hearts players who were threatened by the conduct of some supporters. End of story.
Yeah, well, listen, it's happened for years. You know, clubs staying up maybe in the last game of the season, somebody getting promoted, particularly in England. If you're a supporter, run on, go to your own players. Go to the Celtic players. Why are the Celtic fans going to the Hearts players? They shouldn't have been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
You know, to goad them or... Listen, you were at the game, we weren't there. I was sitting watching the TV, so I don't know what happened. But if you're there and you've seen it with your own eyes, then you're right to back yourself in what you've seen. But in terms of the Celtic supporters, just run your own players. Don't go near the Hearts players. Don't goad them. Don't go up to them and try and rub it in. Just go to your own players and celebrate with them. So that was a bit that didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I think the other aspect of it,
players as well.
The other aspect of it, which I think is in any walk of life, you can't defend it. Is quite simply, are you allowed on the park? No. End of story.
That was possibly part of the biggest pitch invasion ever.
Go on then.
1977 at Wembley.
Yeah.
when it really got out of hand.
Yeah.
The fault of Aberdeen.
The bar, nothing. Yeah, but in my recollection of that day is smiley, happy people. No violence, no directed at anybody, and they were just exuberant of what had happened on that particular day. And I think from my memory serves me right that was one of the last games that was going to happen to Wembley. I think it was going to be rejigged and pulled down. So I think fans got it into their head, well,
it's all right to take the bar.
It's all right to take the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've addressed it. You might not like it. You know, that's just the nature of it. That's the nature of social media these days. That's the nature of people. You've got your opinion, I've got mine. Fine. If you think you're right, fine. Crack on. I've given you my interpretation of what I saw. And at the end of the day, I think the upshot of it all is quite simply that if it continues in that vein, then, you know, the SFA chief executive has mentioned there's going to be tough punishments for anybody who comes onto the field of play. So from that point of view, I want you guys to start thinking about, as we sum up the whole season and what it's been all about, if you can think of your highlight of the season. I'll give you time before we hit the end of the show. Favourite player to watch? Best goal in the Scottish Premiership, Roughie, for yourself, just a personal opinion. Best player you've watched elsewhere, right across football. Pet hate in the game. The best line from some of the headlines, I'll give you a few to start you off. I was up at Tannadice for Wilfred Nancy, and I said, do you think you're finding it difficult to adapt to Scottish football? And he said, I know Scottish football, I almost signed for Carlisle. And Derek McInnes, to me, do you think we were lucky? Sticks in my mind. And of course, Danny Rolls, every game is now a cup final, as each game passed, and he didn't win them. And the other one, which I think we could actually include right now, is Gianni Infantino, who says the World Cup will be the biggest, most inclusive and greatest tournament of all time. Which I have to say, the football might be, but I'm not so sure the event is. And I think his conduct and FIFA's over the course of the build-up.
Scotland, Peter, in the World Cup, but in terms of the other, I'm not really into it. Maybe when it starts and there's games on. I think the timing of the games as well. You've got the first Scotland games at 2 AM here. I think the other ones are 11 o'clock at night. The timings, I think, might affect it here for people, but. Yeah, I think it's over. There's 3 countries. It's Mexico, Canada, America. It's spread out. So I don't know. I'm not really buzzing for it as of yet. But do you think
it'll be bouncing? By the way, the tourism is down.
Yeah, there's not a lot of positivity coming out, Peter. With
the pricing,
supporters, the pricing. Their shafts and supporters, and yeah, I just think the price, particularly in America, is ridiculous. Some of the prices for tickets and beer and fan zones and all that. So yeah, I'm finding it hard at the minute to get. But maybe once the first few games kick off, I'll start to get into it.
Yeah, I thought its trophy presentation to Donald Trump was rather unsavoury as well, Roughie. To be honest with you. Yeah, well, no, this fake award that they suddenly come up with.
Yeah, I think anybody that watched that particular day was embarrassed by the whole presentation of the thing. I mean, the actual draw itself is becoming baffling to most people when they pull out the balls of the pots, and this pot can go in here and that pot there can't go in there, take that pot back out again and put them in there. The whole thing is becoming tedious, I would say. It takes too long, it's lost its sparkle a wee bit, because you're obviously waiting in your country. But
Are you talking about the draw, Roughie?
Yeah. But no, I'm talking about the thing with Trump and your other boy.
Infantino.
Yeah, doing the selfies and the stage and all that was just embarrassing.
As for the tournament itself, apart from the pricing overall, I think I'm hoping we get great football to watch, but I have my doubts about. I'm wondering what the fan experience will be. I think they've been fleeced.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt they're getting fleeced. They're jacking all the prices up. I think the temperature at the games as well, I think will lead to a slower tempo, which I think maybe suit the African teams. Maybe an African team going deep into the tournament. Certainly the South American teams, Brazilians, Argentinians. I don't know if it will suit the European nations.
It's going to be very warm over there. Will they not?
I think there's water breaks. I think there's one one in the first half, one in the second half. It's compulsory.
Mandatory.
Yeah. Okay. Over and
You can
above.
forget Jack Charlton with Republic Island.
Yeah, trying to get him on.
John Aldridge.
Yeah, he was raging.
brilliant.
Yeah. Couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, Roughie, with regards to players signing. Dundee United have landed Dylan Tate from Falkirk, 24 years of age. Good age.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Falkirk, there'll be other clubs, looking at their players. I think the boy Calvin Miller, I've heard Hearts are interested in him. And I think they could lose 2 or 3. Obviously, Brian Graham's away to Ross County, so they'll have to work very, very hard. They've had a good group of players there for 2 or 3 years now, coming up through the divisions. They're going to lose them now because of the style of play and because of the success they've had this year. So it's going to be a tough one for Falkirk. Obviously, the money that's going about isn't going to be as much at Falkirk as some of the other clubs, so it's going to be a hard one. But no, I think the clubs that have done particularly well, I'm just waiting to see how many of your team lose some players. Motherwell, I think they could be 4 or 5 light. We'll have to wait and see.
I speak to a couple of Motherwell fans, and the big fear is, where do we go now? What kind of football are we going to be watching next season? Are we back to, blood, guts and thunder? Because it's certainly not going to be the Jens Bertha-Lascaux football. And I think Roughie's right. I think, you're looking at Elliot Watt, you're looking at Eli Just, and you're also looking at Mazwanise, who could be on their way.
Slattery's gone. Yep. I think it's a big job for the next manager coming in at Motherwell.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you replicate the football that Motherwell played under Jens Bertha-Lascaux? It was sensational to watch.
How do we avoid the embarrassment, though, Tam, of Motherwell, like a number of other clubs, are going to be involved in European football?
Yeah, and I'd like to have seen Jens Bertha-Lascaux in Europe. That style of play, I think it would have suited them. I think he obviously, he's went when he was hot. I think like a player, manager, if you've had a good season, big club like Toulouse comes in France, going treble, quadruple your money, you go. But the next manager at Motherwell's it's a big ask for him, because they'll be expecting a similar standard of football. And I think you're right. I think they'll lose 2 or 3 in the summer as well. They're better players. Yeah,
Aberdeen certainly haven't been guilty of dragging their heels. Alexander Breedle, don't know too much about him. Lewis Mayo and Brad Lyons signed.
Yeah, I don't know the boy Breedle either, but certainly Lewis Mayo and Brad Lyons, both from Killie. No Scottish football, no Scottish game, and I think that's the road that Stephen Robinson will go down. I think he'll go and look at the best players at Kilmarnock, maybe the best players at Falkirk, maybe the best players at St Mirren, and he'll attract them up to Aberdeen because he knows what he's getting. He knows that they can play in the league, they know the league, and I think you'll see a strong Aberdeen next season. I think they're getting business done early, and I think you're going to see some turnover of players. I think you'll see 10, 12, 14 out and the same number in. I think he's going to gut that squad.
St Mirren, Roughie, are we going to give it to Craig McLeish? Is it a big gamble doing that? Do you think they should think long and hard about their next move?
Well, certainly a lot of the players have been talking him up and saying they enjoy him because they know him, they know what he's doing at training. He's been there a while. That if the board throw it out there, there will be candidates, and then they'll have to look at, who, if anybody ticks any boxes. I don't know. I thought before the Thistle game, I thought he got lost a wee bit. I thought the pressure obviously was falling onto him. They didn't expect he would have to deal with that kind of pressure, but he dealt with it and they come through it at the other end. It depends what candidates want it. Really.
Has he been cut a bit of slack? And we have to cut managers a bit of slack, Tam, on the basis that it's not his squad. He's coming in trying to save a team from relegation, and they managed to do it by the skin of their teeth, albeit I thought they were ranked rotten. I thought Thistle deserved it.
Yeah, but obviously Craig's just come in and his remit was keep them up, and he's done that. Whether St Mirren go down the road of him or they go a more experienced route, I don't know. But I'm playing golf with Craig and Stuart Taylor next Wednesday, so I'll find out for you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's hope it's a better day than the one you've had with Roughie, because you're not happy about it. Give us your thoughts on it, St Mirren fans. Would you like to see Craig McLeish or someone else? The board obviously contemplating Craig McLeish first and foremost, and then maybe other candidates. Who would you like to see? I'm really looking forward to our Champions League night in Glasgow, Roughie. It's Arsenal against PSG. It's a 5 o'clock kick-off. It's been brought forward. I'm not too sure if that's a good thing or not, but we're certainly looking forward to it. There's going to be a pop quiz, quite a lot of people coming there for a bit of fun. Roughie's been at the Champions League night more than a few occasions, doing the after dinner, wee bit of analysis as well. For 10 minutes. I'm sure you'll be able to give us your,
The big man up front.
yeah,
PSG.
absolutely.
Big French guy.
What's he saying?
Fullback.
Yes.
The blonde boy's a better player.
I'm just actually, I'm prepping him, Roughie, to do a bit of preparation before he gets there, because we are going to talk about the game. But I'm really looking forward to it. Champions League night, and of course, quite a lot of people coming along to see it as well. We've got a pop quiz, and we've got some brilliant items to
Excellent.
give away on the day. Lots of freebies, Tam. So. Looking forward to it. But the game itself, Arsenal, I've been listening to a few people saying, they think, because the league is in the bag now, that Arsenal will be more relaxed and this is their moment. I can't see that happening.
No, I think PSG are the best team in Europe. I think they have been for a couple of seasons now. And, Luis Enrique that whole team is bought into what he wants to do. They're all working hard. Mbappe, the superstars there, Messi, Mbappe, guys like that, Neymar, get rid of them all. And they're now playing as a team now. So, yeah, I can only see one winner here. Unless Arsenal score first and
that's what I'm saying.
try and defend it. I just think PSG are the best team in Europe. I think they'll prove it. I think they came through the harder route as well. They've obviously beaten Bayern in the semi.
I think they'll win it by a couple, Roughie.
Yeah, it's the old one, If the top team gets the first goal, you would expect them to build on that. Tam's right, you don't want Arsenal scoring first, kill the game. Kill your night and all.
Yeah.
So you don't want that to happen to you. So you want PSG. PSG.
I want PSG to win.
You never wanted them before.
I know.
But they are. Although Tam's saying they've lost their big stars, they're still entertainers. They've still got players in there who get you off your seat.
Is this a dynasty team? Do you know what I mean? When we're looking at teams that are absolute.
So
they
go back to back.
Well, like Real Madrid and Barcelona did.
Yeah.
Don't know. It depends. I mean, these teams tend to just, they have 2 or 3 really good seasons, they break up and players start wanting to go elsewhere and that. If they all stay together, I would say that could be the case.
Okay, I'm going to go PSG to win by a couple. Tam?
2-0 PSG.
Okay, what about Jose? What are you going?
1-0 Arsenal.
Oh.
He's a moron. I'm squibbling
He really is.
Desperate for an Elliot.
Yeah, you must be doing hospitality there. Jose Mourinho heading back to Real Madrid. It looks as if it's a 3-year deal, Roughie.
It's great. I mean, that's the kind of manager you want, isn't it? You want somebody who's going to rumble everybody up and do something a wee bit special. You don't know what to expect. The interviews are going to be great. And it's just a joy to watch. And every team he goes to, there's success. So why wouldn't you take him?
Yeah. He is a good manager. I didn't see that coming, though, did you?
No, but I think he'll weed out all the big heads and the egos in that dressing room, and there's a few Bellinghams and Mbappes, Vinicius Jr. I think he'll get in there and toba them up, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a good appointment.
Okay, highlight of the season for you, Tam. What was it?
Scottish Premiership season, or just Scott McTominay's goal for Scotland.
Yeah.
Scott McTominay's goal for Scotland. Best goal I've ever seen from a Scottish player in an international jersey.
Better than Archie Gemmill?
Yep, I wasn't born when he scored.
Well, you have seen it in the telly.
I have, but no, McTominay's is, and for the magnitude of the game as well, a must-win game, I'll go McTominay's goal for Scotland.
Interesting for you, Roughie, because the Scotland game was a must-win game against the Netherlands that day in Argentina in '78, and when Archie scored that goal, it made it 3-1, which meant I think we only needed one more goal, and we would have qualified.
Yeah, that's why I have Archie's goal up there, because it's at the final. If McTominay was to do that over in America,
yes,
it would just about beat Archie's, but he's not done it yet. He's done it in a qualifier. He's not done it at the big deal.
Yeah. So,
but it is the goal of the season for me.
Is that the highlight for you? Is it the highlight of the season, or is it the goal of the season? Because
there's been
best goal.
There's been hundreds of strikes, but I think McTominay's goal, end of the season, everything that was part of it. Yeah, I would go for McTominay.
Yeah. Favourite player to watch for me, Eli Just.
Yep, I would agree with that 100%. I think he's been a joy to watch.
I also got to give a special mention to Elliot Watt for me, on the basis that he he just made the game so easy for the plan that Jens Berthel had. It was a joy to watch Motherwell all season because, you know, regardless of all the hoo-has that's gone on with all the things that Scottish football delivers to you, they were a joy to watch when Rangers and Celtic were ranked rotten. Hearts, you know, made it really great. Were Hearts a brilliant football team? I'm not so sure.
Depends what you want, Peter. Depends if you want to watch free-flowing football like Motherwell and playing through the lines and, you know, keeping the ball on the deck. But I think Hearts could play that as well. They mixed it up more, but they got the ball wide. They got crosses in the box. They were hard to play against. And we spoke with Stephen Presley, and he said the hardest team for him to coach against was Hearts because they could do everything. They could mix it up. They could play. They could knock it long. They would knock it in behind you. They'd turn you. They get crosses in the box. So, yeah, it just depends what you like. But, yeah, certainly Motherwell were the easiest in the eye all season to watch.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed watching them. As far as the favourite players, I mean, I mentioned Elliot Watt and Eli Justus.
I like Calvin Miller as well.
Miller was great.
I enjoyed watching him. I watched a couple of Falkirk games and, you know, there's no many of them now. A fullback that just gets it and runs it at fullback.
Yeah.
And a winger, sorry. And a lot of wingers now cut inside and keep the ball, but he's certainly direct and with no surprise to me if he goes to a Hearts or an Aberdeen or an English club. I
mean, I think Miller and the boy Nicky Cadden. There's another one who was great at crossing the ball and getting the ball into
Millen. Harry Millen.
Harry Millen was good, yeah, at Hearts.
Cadden.
I just said Nicky Cadden.
Oh, the other one as well.
Chris.
Whichever one.
Yeah.
You know, the balls in the box are just, for a striker, you know, they're just fantastic deliveries. Isn't it amazing? We've done, 3 or 4 decisions and we haven't mentioned one Rangers player or one Celtic player.
No, it's not amazing. I genuinely think, by the way, and I know it's after the fact and some people will agree or not, but I actually think Celtic missed a real trick not going for Jens Berthel. I think, you know, I think if you were a forward-thinking club, thinking European football, thinking the style of football that Celtic fans want to see.
On a shoestring budget.
Oh, well, listen, that as well.
Shoestring budget.
You know?
Never spent a bean at Motherwell.
Some of these players are going to make Motherwell for the next 3 or 4, 5 years secure, Roughie.
Yeah.
You know, but he brought in a system and they all bought into it, and I think they've missed a real trick here. I'm curious to see.
I think it's sad for Scottish football as well, Peter.
I hate to see him go, actually.
You know, and there's no many managers and players who you go, I'm sad he's away, but I mean, he went to Toulouse, I went, just loved watching his team and the way he coached his team. So I think he's a loss to Scottish football as well as Motherwell.
Best player that we've watched elsewhere, for me, the absolute joy of the entire season, Roughie, was watching on the television and watching every clip in social media of the perfect footballer you'd want in your team. I'd take him into the trenches with me, Harry Kane.
You just have to look at his stats.
He's just
61 goals he scored.
Unbelievable. I mean, I know he's in a good side, but I mean, you've got to come up with the goods in certain games, and he's certainly done it. I mean, that's my biggest worry.
You won the Ballon d'Or, you would think, wouldn't you?
Well, this time, but this is my biggest worry now for the World Cup with England, that they've got him and they've got a manager.
And they've got wingers.
Yes.
They've got a manager.
And they don't have egos.
No, they don't.
You know, and I think Kane, not only humble, but he's a number 10 and a number 9 Tam, isn't he?
Aye, he can drop in. It's very unusual because usually you get players like that who drop off, link the game, don't score a lot of goals because then the ball goes wide and they're not in the box. But he can drop off, play the ball wide, get in the box. He can score goals for 6 yards, 30 yards, headers, free kicks. Unbelievable, world class.
Pet hate in the game this season? Anything that's really annoyed you?
VAR decisions.
Yeah, but there's one.
Handballs.
There's one.
Handballs.
There's one for me I don't like. Is when a defender makes a last gasp block, they celebrate it as if they'd scored a goal.
Why not?
Because that really annoys me. And some of the kids that do it, that I coach, do it as well. Try to bite my tongue. Because
is that because you're a forward?
I think so. Aye, you're just doing your job.
Well, you're just doing your job, scoring
I know,
goals.
but it's harder to score goals than it is to throw yourself into a ball. defenders.
But I can see Baresi actually throwing things at the telly right now.
Aye, imagine Baresi doing that, like throwing Selling and then getting up and going like that. Yes, celebrating a block.
You having it, Roughie?
No, it's a nonsense.
No, I don't mind goalkeepers and defenders responding to a good save or a good tackle or a block or whatever. It's still part of the game, you know. I mean, why should strikers just be the only ones that take their jersey off and run about as if they're...
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Robbie. I think it's just because he's a striker. Best line from the headlines. I've given you a few options. Also, I think Martin O'Neill's line about, you know, they were preparing to win the game rather than talking about ahead of it. I think he was fairly critical of Derek McInnes. Martin had a few choice lines during that period, but I think that one stuck out as well. Anyone that sticks in your mind, Tam?
No, there's a few. Hibs should lie down to Celtic was a headline in Daily Record.
Yeah. You were not happy. You were not happy.
No,
you were not happy getting done into that.
Honestly, my phone nearly blew up that day.
Yeah.
From mostly Rangers fans saying,
"Don't worry, but it should be on the feed here today." It's absolutely fantastic. I have actually watched quite a few of them on Twitter. You know, oh, quick, give me an apology. But anyway, Roughie, is there anything that's stuck in your mind?
I thought Nancy's one when I can't remember who they get beat 3-0. And he said sometimes you have to look at games and take the positives. And he said that on numerous occasions.
Yeah,
the results never went well.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks to so many of you for contributing positively or negatively on today's show. We've got a great competition which is going to run all the way through June. Thanks to First Class Credit Union. We're going to do a little feature on how you can benefit from the offers from First Class Credit Union, but they are sponsoring our top 50 players selection. We've had a really good bit of chat going on in the journals about it and right across some of our pundits as well. It's just basically all you have to do is go on to PLZ Soccer's website and pick from our selection. And it's not necessarily the best player out of the 50. It could be somebody that you think is worthy of being in the 50 best players since 1975. And the Premier League started in 1975, and then it's had various evolutionary changes. But we're giving you the option to pick one player that you think should be in there. Once you register your vote, then we're going to take all the votes and just pick somebody at random who'll win themselves a painting commissioned by Gio Thompson to paint your favourite player, which is a great prize.
Last week, Gio Thompson.
I spotted your picture on social media of you sliding down the pole.
He done a painting for me, and first time I'd met him, and brilliant.
Yeah.
His wee room with his paintings.
Has he done it yet?
Oh, he's done it. It's fantastic. It looks great. Is it up on the wall? Or
it's set in the house somewhere, but it's not going in the living room. My missus went, it's not going in the living room. You're sliding down a pole.
Yeah.
Reminds me of what she used to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Good luck with that. The big man, eh? Yeah, I think it's a single room for you tonight. So pick one. Roughie, there's been a few candidates we've talked about all the way through it. And I think, you know, some of my mates have left messages on the machine just basically say, Peter, you know, there's some great players that should be getting a mention. One guy actually mentioned Gary Mackay. I think Gary deserves a mention. Whether he's going to get into the 50 or not, I don't know. We'll get our definitive at the end of July. But he's certainly worth a mention, isn't he?
Yeah, I think every supporter at every club will have a player that they think stood out more than others, and Gary's one. It could be Hearts, but certainly every club will have one particular player that they remember through the years.
Is Chick Charnley worth a mention?
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah?
Of course he is, yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, most definitely, yeah.
Is there anybody that you think, if you were picking not necessarily the best player, but one that you'd like to see in that 50?
Well, I've already picked Davy Cooper.
Yeah.
I think David Cooper was...
That's not exactly a difficult one, is it?
No,
Cooper's going to be in the top 10, I think. You know?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But, I mean, a lot of foreign players will be up there.
I think where we're going to get the most criticism for this when we get the definitive 50, Tam, will be the ones that we highlight from 50 to 41. Because, 1 to 30, I think you might have a really good chance of picking something that everyone agrees with, but you're looking for that final 10 that maybe come out of left field.
Yeah, listen, there's been, particularly for Celtic and Rangers, you know, guys like Lubo Moravchik, Paolo Di Canio, Rangers, the De Boer brothers, played against them, and Claudio Caniggia, and some fantastic players, Michael Moles. So listen, there's going to be a lot of arguing the 1 to 50 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's a good competition, good chance to win, and we've got some fantastic competitions coming up over the course of the season. Back with you next season, and I can tell you, Roughie Predictor is returning. Yep. We're about to launch it at the start of the new season. We're putting the whole thing in place. Basically, it's not just about beating the pundits; it's about trying to win, and we've got a howitzer of a prize, Tam, for someone who wins it at the end of the season. We've got a belter of a prize, and we've got monthly prizes as well. And this time there's no hiding, because as soon as you log into it, then you're on. You've just got to make sure that you're amassing as many points as you can, Tam. You'll get 3 points for a correct score and 1 point for a correct prediction.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, I've done it the last couple of seasons, but it was good fun every week, particularly when we were doing it and the loser was having to buy the dinner.
But it was good watching the league table. The league table was good, going on and seeing who was jumping up and who was falling down. And
yeah, I think there's going to be some people who actually follow the stats religiously, Roughie, who want to make a good start on it. But it'll be good seeing the table and seeing where we are featured in it and how good our predictions are. Thanks to so many of you for your comments on the football today. How many caps did Martin O'Neill get in our elite joinery and fire protection quiz, Roughie? The answer was 64.
Oh, very good.
64 caps for Martin O'Neill. Congratulations to anyone who predicted 64 as the answer. Tam, I think you were closer than Roughie. Is that fair?
Maybe 70 odd.
Yeah, so well done there. Over the course of the summer, we're quite sure there's any value in us being on at 2 o'clock in the morning, Tam. I think there's greater value previewing it and then post is the best, because your wife is in control of that marriage. So if you to say you're going out,
I'm going to go. The pubs have got like licence in Glasgow and in East Kilbride, so I'm going to go with my pals and watch again.
There you are, Roughie. What about that?
If you fancy coming up and got a pint,
I'm actually working at the first game.
He really is a moron, isn't he? I mean, he is a moron. He's just
honestly, get me money.
Honestly, I'm
so much Don, he's still greedy.
Possibly today, I'm possibly the most unliked person on the
done?
programme. But you're up there.
What have you done?
No, this is one of those moments, Tam, you and I savour over a period of time where you give an opinion, you say what you see, and some people don't like it.
They're still demanding an apology. They're saying that all the Hearts players were assaulted. Keith Jackson again with Hibs Rangers final.
Absolutely. I know how it feels. Anyway, you'll get opinion on this programme, that's for sure. You might not like it, but nevertheless, at least you're getting one, and you're not getting any pandering to one club or the other. Right across all Scottish football, Roughie, we've tried to be a station that's covered everything right across them, and going to games other than Celtic and Rangers constantly.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I particularly like Hugh McDonald and Parksy, listen to what they've got to say. And
Parksy's been a welcome addition. He can take the heat right off you and I, Tam.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. He's strong opinions. Some of them are mental.
Yes.
They're certainly worth listening to.
The good thing for you is his hair beats yours.
Yeah. Roughie, we're going in.
Boy, I actually said to him today, go on, tell, at the golf. Go on, tell. We're standing at the photographs, this boy comes up, I never recognise you, Tom, you dyeing your hair?
He was standing there. Oh, he was right there. I tell you, he is.
Brilliant, Roughie.
Forsyth, boy.
Roughie,
Forsyth.
was it?
He was your dad. He died about 2 years ago.
You did you?
Did.
You're a moron.
Absolutely.
You really are.
Honestly, I was
by the way,
to swallow me up.
For a tough player, Tam Forsyth was the nicest guy you could meet. He was not the same off the park as he was on the park.
Exactly.
Just one little footnote to that, Roughie. We'll be going in next season. I mean, obviously we're going to do the World Cup. We're going to do lots of features. Hugh McDonald and I are going to be out on the road next week, and there's a good programme that hopefully you'll enjoy. But you'll be in your 15th season with us, Roughie. That's incredible, isn't it?
15, yep.
15. How many were you with
10.
The Dingbat?
10 Dingbat.
Yeah.
10.
10 with him. Yeah. And
Still get the Herbert look.
still twitching from working with him. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't, then why not come back and enjoy another one later on from Tam, from Roughie, from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.